Hey, welcome back to Bob's Two-Car Garage. Now, this week we did some new flooring in our house and it looks really nice. It's that new vinyl that looks like wood. It's quite a bit skinnier than my old flooring, so you know how one project kind of leads to another. I need to move my baseboard down a little bit, so today I'm going to show you how to remove and install baseboard. Hi, my name is Bob and I love my two-car garage. Now, in order to remove the old baseboard, you need three tools. You need this guy right here, your utility knife. You need a crowbar that looks kind of like this. And of course, you need a hammer. Utility knife is very important because what I want to do to start off is I need to cut along the top of the old baseboard so that when I pull this off, I don't pull off the wall with it. It'll take that layer of paint off and it looks really bad. And once you make that cut, it should pull away pretty easily with just your crowbar and your hammer. Now there's two good reasons why I'm replacing this baseboard instead of just moving it down or putting some base shoe along the bottom. Number one, the base shoe is going to create just another little line there that is difficult to clean. And also, I have this line on my wall right here from the old baseboard, and I want to cover that up. So I picked up baseboard, or I chose a piece of baseboard that's slightly wider than my old baseboard, so when I put this new stuff up there, it's going to cover up that line. I don't have to deal with it. Now this first little run of baseboard right here just goes from the casing to the corner. I'm not going to miter the corner. I'm going to do what's called a cope joint in the corner. So all I got to do is measure this space right here and cut a piece off square on both ends and pop it in there. I'm going to nail this along the bottom where the plate is with my 15 gauge nailer here, and then try to hit the studs up above. Actually, I don't have to worry about it in this wall because it's a shear wall. I can pretty much nail it anywhere I want to, but it's not always the case. So you're looking for studs up here, obviously, to make sure that it's nailed down nice and tight. Right, in the inside corner right there, we're not going to do a miter joint. That's not the right way to do it. But we are going to start by cutting a 45-degree angle inside like that on that board, and we're going to create what's called a cope joint. Right, so by cutting that 45-degree angle on my baseboard here, I've created a line that is the exact profile of the baseboard. So if I just cut this away, it's going to match. Now, actually, a coping saw is made for cutting that away, but I'm going to use my little handheld saber saw here to cut away that material. When I do so, I'm going to kind of undercut it or back cut it so that I end up really with kind of a point right there that follows that whole contour. And if you want to, you can take a file and kind of touch up a little bit. if you feel like you didn't do a good enough job. But I feel like I did a pretty good job. Now the beauty of this cope joint is that if my wall is not square, which it's probably not, it won't open up in the middle. It's going to slide right in there, and I can actually take this piece and kind of jam it in there and get it to where it's perfect. You can also bang this back a little bit if I need to make sure that I got a nice tight joint right there. Also, if there's any shrinkage in these boards over the years, it won't open up. All right, so I'm gonna pretty much jam my cope joint in over here on this end. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then I'm gonna mark this in and go out and make a 22.5-degree cut on here. All right, now these outside corners here are gonna get miters, and this bull nose creates kind of a unique problem for that joint. You can buy these little things, which are supposed to fit that contour, and they do. They work pretty well, and I've used them before. But I like these. I like just putting a little angle piece in there. So, kind of like putting a puzzle together. Cut a little piece for that corner. That piece is going that way. Just butt it in. That's going to get a cope. I already showed you how to do that. So last thing I need to do is glue and tack that little corner in place, and we finish this little section. Now, I don't want to say that you shouldn't strive for perfection here, but you are dealing with a imperfect situation. So do the best you can getting this together, glue it up, tack it in place, but just know that you may need to come back at it with some caulk and some sandpaper when you're all done. Now, every once in a while, you might come up against a situation where you have to do something like this. There's not really a fancy way to get to transition from this molding to my baseboard, so I just cut it off straight and back cut it a little bit. That's pretty much the best I can do. The last thing you want to do is caulk it along the top edge and in the corners and get all the nail holes caulked up. Let your caulk dry, and then make sure you paint it. Now, it'll look nice once you caulk it, but that caulking is a little bit stickier than the paint, or just has a little different texture once it dries. So it'll catch dirt if you don't go back and paint it. So even though it'll look nice, it's not really done until you caulk it and then touch up your paint. So make sure you don't skip that step. And don't forget, a man who is skilled in his work will stand before kings. So do your very best, because people are going to notice. Don't forget to like and subscribe.